Another day, another book video. Hello everyone, it's Hunter and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, it is so nice to meet you. In today's video, I'm going to be doing my May book wrap up. I think I read either 20 or 21 books. Not entirely sure exactly how many it was because I don't remember. The end of this month was crazy. So I'm just gonna be sharing with you guys the books that I read in May of 2022. Since I read so many, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to my channel down below if you have not already. And now let's go ahead and get started. On my notes app, I kind of just wrote down a summary of each book. And so I have the title, the author, my rating, a summary, and a brief review of each book just so that I can keep it nice and concise. So now let's just start with the first one is The Date Swap by Lydia Westing, and this was exclusive to Scribed, the app. I gave this 5 stars. Lila and Daniel meet at the airport on the way to family weddings in Hawaii. They decide to be each other's dates to appease their families, and I said that this was super cute and a quick read, and it was fun to listen to while doing chores around the house. It was more of a mood booster kind of thing than anything, so I just 5 stars because it was cute. The next book was One Was Lost by Natalie D. Richards. I gave this one 4 stars. A flash flood ruins a school trip, and when they wake up the next morning, the students find that they are not alone and that someone is taunting them. I thought this was well thought out, and the ending genuinely shocked me. There was also a cute little love story woven in between two of the students. I like that the event left all of the students closer together at the end. I did give it only 4 stars because I felt like there were parts of it that were really unrealistic. Book 3 of the month was Greenwich Park by Catherine Faulkner, and I listened to this one on Scribed. I gave this one 5 stars. Helen and Daniel are having a baby after a series of losses, and Helen meets Rachel at a prenatal class. Then it seems that she's everywhere all the time, and Helen is a little wary of her lifestyle but is overall friendly with her when she realizes that Rachel knows a little too much about their past. I really enjoyed this, and I really had no idea where anything was going the whole time. I feel like from the beginning the reader knows something is off with Rachel, but it's hard to put your finger on it because you're not quite sure why she's so obsessed with Helen. She is an annoying character, but I feel like that really helps the progress of the book. I think there were parts that I thought I knew what was going on, and then it smacked me in the face to prove me wrong. Book number 4 of the month was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and I gave this one a solid 5 stars. Would have given it 6 if I could. One of my faves for the month and one of my faves for the whole year so far. Libby is a workaholic book agent, and her sister convinces her to take a trip to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina, which is the setting of her client's latest and most popular book. She runs into hometown hottie Charlie, who is an editor in New York, who she met years before and she didn't have a great impression of. But they get to know each other, and the rest is history. I said, okay, cute. This was everything I hoped it would be. I annotated this book and was so excited to go back and reread bits that I loved when I finished. Lots of cute moments, lots of sad moments. I teared up from both. Overall, an excellent read, and I think this may be Emily Henry's best yet. Super cute. I really loved it. Next is The Long Weekend by Jilly McMillan, and I gave this one 4 stars. 6 friends decide to go on a weekend trip. When the men decide they have to stay behind for a day, the women go and have a girls' night while they await their husbands arrive. When they arrive to the remote cabin, they find a note left by another friend letting them know that she is going to kill one of their husbands, and then all heck breaks loose. This was my first book by this author, and the only reason I gave it 4 stars is because the chapters were so long that there was not a natural stopping point. There were only 3 chapters, but the book took place over like a 5-hour period, so each day of the book was a different chapter. I also thought because there were no chapters, switching from different character point of views was really confusing until I acclimated to it. Overall, I thought it was a really well told story, and I was trying to figure out what was going on the whole time. I appreciated that I couldn't guess, so let me back up. Parts of the book, it is written completely in 3rd person, except for one point of view is a 1st person point of view, so that way you don't know who it is. I said I appreciated that I could not guess who the 1st person point of view was until the last minute, and when the author decided that they wanted you to know who it was. The 6th book of the month was The Family Plot by Megan Collins, and I gave this one 5 stars. Dahlia comes back to her family home when her dad dies, and when they go to dig up the plot for his grave, they find the remains of her twin brother who left home 10 years earlier, which ends up stirring a lot of trouble for the family. I thought that this was well told, and all the chapters moved super quickly. The chapters were of average length. On my Kindle, it was probably like between 10 and 15 minutes each, but really felt like they were super short because the flow of the book was so good. I thought the whole premise of each kid being named after a victim of a serial killer was really cool, and I thought it was really intriguing that the family was so obsessed with true crime and murderers their whole life. The next book is One Night on the Island by Josie Silver, and I gave this one 4 stars. Cleo is a writer and gets sent on an assignment to an island off the coast of Ireland, where she happens to run into an American who actually happens to be double booked in the only only accommodation on the island. She's trying to learn who she is, and he is running from a marriage she does not want to accept is over. But despite knowing it's a bad idea, Cleo and Mac cannot stay away from each other. I love Josie Silver's other books, and I was expecting a lot here. I gave this 4 stars because I felt like I had a really hard time getting into it in the beginning. It felt slow, and I found myself struggling to pick it up. Eventually, I did pick it up, and I'm glad I decided to finish it because it ended up being quite cute. I think Cleo really learned a lot about herself, both with Mac and the time that she spent alone, and with the island natives. The relationship between the two was also very cute. Next was A Family of Liars by E. Lockhart, and I gave this one 4 stars. This is the prequel to We Were Liars, but it also kind of takes place after the first book. So in this book, we learn the secrets of the Sinclair family, and also from the point of view of the parents of the book, from the first book, and we also learn how the family obtained their private island. I gave this one 4 stars because I felt like the shocking plot twist was not all that shocking to me. I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, but I was also not as shocked as I felt I should have been. I thought the story was well told, and I liked that there were points where this is an unreliable narrator, and overall thought this was really good, but it just didn't deserve 5 stars for me because the plot twist was a little bit predictable. If you know the first book, you're kind of expecting something similar to happen. Next is An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher, and it's about Rainey, who moves her whole life to Washington State to follow her boyfriend from New York. When she gets invited on a girls' trip to Vegas, she is reluctant to go, but decides anyway and confronts her past while she is there. Right as she is about to leave Vegas, she gets a text from someone in her past telling her that her friend is being held hostage, so she does what she needs to do to save her. One word: cult. Not gonna lie, anything involving a cult automatically intrigues me, so the main character having grown up in one is really fun for me to read. I thought the story was well woven together and left me feeling shocked in many moments. I really feel that Taryn Fisher can do no wrong. Next is book 10, and I finally read the first 2 books in the Slam series by Colleen Hoover. I gave them both 5 stars. The first book is about Lakin, who moves to the Midwest from Texas after her dad dies, and she meets Will, the new neighbor. She's instantly attracted to him, but there is a major roadblock in the way that is keeping them from being together. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever rate anything Colleen Hoover anything less than 5 stars. This was a really quick and easy read, and I have not heard much about this one, so I wasn't sure what to expect, but I really enjoyed it. I don't want to share too much because I don't want to give it away, but book 2, again, I gave 5 stars. It's called Point of Retreat, and this book is a continuation of their story from Will's point of view, so the boy in the first book, and takes place about a year later. I said that I really liked that this one was from the point of view of the male rather than the female because we get a glimpse into his thoughts and feelings that we didn't get in the first book. I also really appreciate a continuation of the same couple because it's possible to really see what happens at the end of a happily ever after. Book number 12 was an advanced reader's copy, and when I tell you I ran to NetGalley to request this when I heard it was available, it was so quick. It is When in Rome by Sarah Adams, and I absolutely love her books, and I have not read a new one of her books in so long, so I was super excited to be able to read this. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was so cute. Amelia is a pop star who is tired of playing the role of perfect, so she sets off to the first city she can find with the name Rome, Kentucky. When she ends up with her car broken down in Noah's front yard in the middle of nowhere, she has no choice but to stay in his house. From there, their feelings for each other grow, but they are determined that their relationship won't last when she has to go back home, so they constantly deny their feelings for each other. I think this may be Sarah Adams' best yet. This was literally so cute, and I was smiling ear to ear the entire time. I really think she writes the cutest love stories, and this is the perfect book to read between heavier books. I also just think her books are so funny, and the banter between characters is everything. So genuinely the cutest book. Highly recommend. It comes out in September, so be on the lookout for that. The 13th book I read was a very, very heavy book. It is This Is Where It Ends by, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, so don't come for me if I butcher it. It's Mariki Nijkamp, I think, and I gave it 5 stars. Taking place over a 50-minute time frame, shots are fired in a high school auditorium and follows the perspective of several students during this time. And I just want to put a, I guess not necessarily a disclaimer, but I just want to say that in light of recent events, I feel like this book is even more important because it really shows us things like this happen way too often. And the fact that I have read more than one book about a school shooting is actually so tragic, but I do feel like it's a very important book to read. So here are my thoughts on this. I can honestly say that I am so thankful that this is something that I have never gone through, and I pray that I never will. This is also something that happens far too often, that students should have to worry about their lives when they're just trying to go to school. I personally could feel the horror of every character and felt my jaw clenching and my fists clenched while reading this and flew through it because I needed to know how it ended. While I have no idea if this is an accurate representation of such a horrible situation, I think it's worth the read to gain insight into something so horrifying. I read this before the shooting in Texas happened, and so reading this and then hearing about it right after I read it was kind kind of horrifying to know that like I'm reading this work of fiction only to find out that something like this has just happened in real life again, over and over and over again. So yeah, I definitely feel like this is an important read more than an entertaining read, if that makes sense. The next book I read was a little bit more lighthearted. It is Kiss and Tell by Megan Quinn, and I gave this one 4 stars. Pacey and the other single guys on his hockey team have just hit the off season and are looking forward to their vacation in Banff, Canada. Then during a storm, Winnie shows up looking for shelter after being stranded in her car. Pacey realizes that she is his half-brother's ex-girlfriend but cannot seem to stay away from her. I'm not quite sure why I gave this 4 stars instead of 5, but after finishing, it was just something was missing to me. This is a very spicy book but also very cute, and I genuinely enjoyed it. This is the first book in a series and does an awesome job of introducing the other players on the team. The banter is great and I thought this was just super cute. Book number 15 is My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren, and I gave this one 5 stars. Millie and her 4 best guy friends decide to find dates and she catfishes someone she's really into. I said, okay, this was really cute. Millie has a hard time opening up about her past in person, but she's able to share so easily in her online account. I think her being able to share herself and her ability to be vulnerable with someone online, with someone that she loves, even if it is online, is so nice. I said this was really cute, quick and easy read, and I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. Number 16 is The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. Carrie is the personal, I gave this one 5 stars as well. Carrie is the personal assistant for the Trips, an HGTV power couple. A new guy, James, comes onto the scene to work for the husband after the Trips are struggling in their marriage. Carrie and Trip end up spending lots more time together and begin to feel an attraction. I said I really liked this and had a fun time imagining this in my head. I thought that it really played out like a movie. I thought Carrie really grew into herself and learned about what she wants out of life, and I also thought James was really cute in all the characters from his point of view. I was really on a Christina Lauren kick this month because book number 17 was Roomies by Christina Lauren, and I gave this one 5 stars as well. Holland is obsessed with the busker in the subway, and when she gets a chance to change his life, she takes it. He's in the States illegally, but is offered a job on Broadway to allow him to get married. To allow him to live his dream. They agree to get married and they eventually stop pretending. I thought this was super, super cute for her to have an unrequited crush that ends up being fulfilled, and like she's actually getting to know this guy that she's been obsessed with for so long. I thought was just like super, super cute. Book number 18, I was so excited about this one, is Every Summer After by CARLEY Fortune, and I gave this one 5 stars. I thought it was so, so, so good. We have best friends as children to lovers, lovers to strangers, and strangers to lovers. Percy and Sam meet at 13 years old and grow together into something more. Then something happens and they grow apart and come back together after Sam's mom dies and Percy comes back for the funeral. This was everything. This was literally so cute and I loved it so much. I wanted to cry so much, but also super smiley all the time while reading this. I felt so much, everything, the whole things. I really don't have the words, but I love, love, love this, and don't think that, and I think that everyone should read it. 100% worth the hype for me. That was like word vomit, but that's how I felt. I just had lots of really, really good feelings about it, so I greatly enjoyed that. The next book was one that I listened to unscribed. It is Head Over Heels by Hannah Orenstein, and I gave it 5 stars. We have Avery, who moves back home after breaking up with her boyfriend, and she's really struggling with what she wants to do with her life. She lost her dreams of being an Olympic gymnast after an injury during the Olympic trials, and she has no idea what to do with her life. She gets a job as a coach to another Olympic hopeful and is working with her childhood crush. This was actually so cute. I feel like I've read other sports romances and they're all really, really spicy, and generally men that are in more traditionally manly, macho type sports like hockey or football, baseball, that kind of thing. So having the guy be a gymnast was really cool. It was also really cool for me to actually understand the technical terms of the book, which made me really excited, like gymnastics technical terms, because I spent a lot of time in a gymnastics gym when I was in high school, and this book gives a lot of girl power vibes, but it's also really quite cute. I did want to give some trigger warnings. There is some essay and also some eating disorder talk in here as well, so just keep that in mind. For some reason, I don't have any kind of written review or synopsis for the last 2 that I read. So the book number 20 is After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I gave this one 5 stars. I've read 2 of her contemporary books, so like not from the Malibu Rising, Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones world, but the contemporary romances that she's written. This one is about a couple who they decide that they should spend a year apart. They basically had a whirlwind romance, lived together after college, and then they get to a point in their relationship where they've kind of hit a rut. They are not sure that they love each other anymore, so they take a year apart and try to figure out what they want that year apart. They can date anybody that they want. They're not living together, they're not seeing each other, and it kind of just goes through the ups and downs of the end of a marriage relationship and kind of what happens after you say I do, how marriages are not always super perfect and things like that. And I really liked the perspective perspective of this, because I do feel like a lot of books, especially in the romance world, are very heavily focused on the main character who is, you know, a whirlwind romance. It's a new relationship, and I feel like they do focus on struggles, but they're not struggles within a relationship, and things that are like super duper mundane, like how your husband leaving his socks on the floor constantly just causes a bunch of resentment, if that makes sense. So I feel like it touches on a lot of really realistic parts of marriage, whereas a lot of books talk more about like the physical aspects of marriage and like the giddy feelings and the newness of it all. So I really enjoyed this one, and I think that's why it just really resonated with me. I am not having any problems in my marriage, so don't take that the wrong way, but I feel like it was just a different perspective of marriage, and I really enjoyed it. And oh, what's this? Book 21 for the month was Forever Never by Lucy Score, and this book literally was so long. It was almost 600 pages, way spicier than any book I normally read, but let's pull up the synopsis for you. Came out in March of last year, and it's 588 pages, so almost 600 pages. Okay, so we have Remy, who returns to her hometown of Mackinac Island in Michigan. Mackinac, I don't know how to pronounce it. The island where they don't have cars in Michigan. Basically, she returns home because she is running away from something that happened to her in Chicago, and she runs into the man that was her childhood crush and also the ex-husband of her childhood best friend, and there's just like a lot going on there. He's a police officer and she's an artist, and there's just like a whole lot to break down, and it's hard to tell you without giving so much away, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, even though it was a lot spicier than what I normally like. For example, it says the author's note is frenemies to lovers, opposites attract, slow burn, girl in danger, glorious banter, fighting as foreplay, small town shenanigans, bang grumpy, pining, overprotective hero, wild child, trouble finding heroine who keeps on pushing the hero's buttons, steam level, lava, suspense, nail biting, feels big time. Lots of descriptive words there. It said spice was lava. I have to agree, it was very spicy, and normally I would not have enjoyed it quite to that level just because it was so much, which like I said is way more than what I normally am into, but with the suspense and the rest of the plot, like it was very plot driven, so it was more plot than spice, even though there was a lot of spice, if that makes sense. And I think that's why I liked it, because it did have like a suspense element to it, and I'm really big into thrillers. I wouldn't call this a thriller, this is definitely a romance, but it did have some suspenseful elements in it that I don't normally see in thrillers. I mean, in romance novels. So really enjoyed it. That was the last book that I read for the month of May. I managed to only be filming for 21 minutes to talk about 21 books, so I hope this video is not too long for you guys. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I post book videos every single Friday, so if you like book videos, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!